Monsieur basically puts up this notion that Hollywood is a communist propaganda machine meant to corrupt our society with its liberalistic ideas. He says that if we crack down on Hollywood for its anti-conservative propaganda, we'd be a better country for it. Okay, I don't know how to put my love for cinema into words, so I'm just gonna let some other YouTuber explain it.
I would like to start off by establishing film as an art form. Film is powerful. As Jason Silva puts it,
the aesthetic and intellectual power of cinema, to me, seemed like the most powerful medium in the world. Like, there was nothing that existed that was better at conveying the human experience, particularly the interior human experience, from the point of view of a character, from the point of view of a person, the intersubjective life world of the other, as cinema. It was just simply the greatest communication technology that had ever been made. You know, you could talk, you could sing, you could paint. Cinema combined all of these, and it put you inside of someone else's world. And so as an engine of empathy, as a way of stepping outside yourself, as a way of witnessing someone else's life, I was always moved by cinema.
It's more than just pointing a camera at an actor. It's a director with an idea who expresses it via cinematographers who use the placement, lenses, and settings of a camera in creative, complex ways to tell the story visually. Actors being truthful under imaginary circumstances. An editor arranging individual clips and sequences into a grand story. All of that, and so much more, is what makes film, film.
Cinema is exactly what it's meant to be. It is art, it is expression, it is designed to take these ideas in our heads and to express them onto the big screen. And yet Monsieur acts like Hollywood is just this one big organization with some communist manifesto designed to destroy America's unity. And it's just very clear to me that he's saying this because he just doesn't understand what art actually is. Hollywood is the cultural center of America and a cultural center of the world. It is an industry created by Americans and for Americans. It is a landmark piece of our culture that we should be proud of, not ashamed about. Here's the reason Hollywood is liberal. The reason that is because art itself is liberal. Think about it. What do you think art actually is? Art is the expression and interpretation of our modern society through the lenses of something else. Whether it's books, literature, poetry, paintings, music. All art is expression and a reinterpretation and a reimagining of what we see in our society. It might seem like it's very strange and unusual, but that's because art is supposed to be strange and unusual. It's supposed to evoke these emotions you've never had before, and art is only most powerful when it's different from what we expect from regular, normal society. Art essentially stands out strongest when it's a critique of our society. Kind of like the jesters of old. It's not just Hollywood that does this. All forms of art that are designed to empower individual expression, it comes off as very liberal simply because pro-nationalist art is always propaganda. Art is not designed to promote liberalism or communism. It's meant to promote individualism. That's why it comes off as very liberal compared to the norms of society. Think about what conservative films look like. This is what I think of when I see conservative films.
Young people from all over the globe are joining up to fight for the future.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part too.
They're doing their part. Are you?
So your body's changing. Believe me, I know how that feels.
Michael Bay would have you think that America is the only country in the world.
Patriotism
is the virtue of the vicious, according to Oscar Wilde.
Almost all of his films include the American military in some form or another.
Listen to me, you're a soldier now. All right, I need you to take this cube, get it into military hands while we hold them off.
And he peppers American flags throughout his sets like they're going out of style. Think we're kidding? According to some sources, there are 53 flags in Transformers: Age of Extinction alone. That works out to one flag appearing for every 3 minutes of screen time.
So God's Not Dead 2 is the conservative Christian propaganda piece about a teacher who mentions Jesus in the classroom, and then the school district tries to fire her. She sticks to her guns. She's like, I didn't do anything wrong, so the case goes to court, so now it's a court movie ultimately. So the problem with this movie is from the get-go, they start villainizing the other side. They start villainizing atheists.
Hey, Scotty. Jesus, man.
Would constant propaganda and revisionist history make America great again? Trying to destroy artistic vision simply because you view it as degeneracy, ironically enough, is a very communistic thing to do. It's actually already being done in another country today. Communist China. Pro-nationalist cinema is just propaganda, and it doesn't offer thought-evoking emotions that the cinema offers today. If you want a society where all art is limited to pro-national propaganda, then you're essentially cutting out freedom of speech and freedom of expression for the sake of your nationalistic zeal. You're cutting away the emphasis of freedom of speech for the sake of nationalism, which also literally goes against our written constitution. I mean, if all media were limited to pro-state messaging, you're basically killing off the comic book industry, television shows, most cartoons, violent video games, Dungeons and Dragons, foreign TV shows, and all these other forms of entertainment that we've enjoyed in the last few generations. Should our shows only be limited to things like Leave It to Beaver?
Well, it's sort of traditional, I guess. You know, they say a woman's place is in the home, and I suppose as long as she's in the home, she might as well be in the kitchen.
Is that what would make America great again? Should we shut down Hollywood, all forms of video games, and all overseas shows because they're corrupting our youth with their liberalism? Is that conservative enough for you? It feels a lot more like a dystopian idea of what media should look like than what actual media should be, which is something free and available for everyone to do. The reality is, if we didn't have Hollywood, the entertainment industry would probably be shifted to Bollywood instead. And if I'm being completely honest, that would actually be pretty fun too. Ironically enough, Monsieur's idea of what if history were a little different would leave America at a loss of what many of its cultural phenomenons have always been. Elvis and the Beatles wouldn't have been allowed to perform because conservatives thought their music was satanic. Say goodbye to rock and roll. Mortal Kombat and Grand Theft Auto wouldn't exist because conservatives believed that games were corrupting our youth in the 80s and 90s. Pokemon would be banned because pastors to this day still think Pokemon is very satanic.
The children are developing relationships with all these Pokemon creatures, little reclusive, power-filled monsters. But why should they carry these monsters in their pocket? They say the Pokemon whole effort is to train children how to become the #1 Pokemon master in the world. You follow it through the New Age teaching, you find out that masters are those who take control of spirits in the dark realm, and they tell those spirits what to do. The child at some point becomes capable of taking these powers and channeling them through their mind, through their arms, or through their power sources. Their power sources, of course, are many of the symbols that they pick up from the Pokemon paraphernalia. So Pokemon is a game that teaches children how to enter into the world of witchcraft, how to cast spells, how to use psychic phenomena, how to put to work supernatural powers against their enemies, how to fantasy role play. Pokemon world is a world of the demonic, of the satanic. But while you might not take it quite seriously, I assure you that demons take it quite seriously. Satan takes it quite seriously. Your children need to know there's a devil and he hates them and he wants to ruin their life.
I'm wondering if Monsieur thinks anime is the reason for Japanese birth rate decline and... Oh wait, no, I actually believe that one. Anyway, Monsieur's ideology, ironically enough, would leave America worse off than it was before. We wouldn't have all of these cultural influences that have influenced across the world. Monsieur, ironically enough, thinks that cutting off a piece of American culture would make America more powerful, yet it just shows me he has an issue with all forms of art that don't seem to follow his strict guideline of propaganda. Ironically enough, the fantasy 50s that Monsieur imagines is exactly a direct result of Hollywood propaganda. The Hollywood industry created this fabricated version of what America actually was in order to make Americans more ignorant about real-life issues that were occurring in the 50s. Monsieur has accepted the fake history that Hollywood created while speaking out against Hollywood. This whole video was designed to anger liberals, and to be honest, it doesn't make me want to believe the things he says, it makes me think less of him. To believe such outlandish conspiracies for the sake of Donald Trump, I'm not even angry, I'm just very disappointed in him. Like, I honestly thought he was like a fellow historian lover, and yet he was willing to fake history for the sake of a political agenda. I've lost an immense amount of respect for this YouTuber, and I'm just so disappointed that he would alter something so valuable for the sake of political messaging. Honestly, I just wish Monsieur had made a separate YouTube channel to talk about his own political beliefs. Like, I am okay with any political opinions that people have, but he turned this fun and interesting concept of alternate history and history in general in order to make this fake portrayal not for the sake of entertainment, but for the sake of misinformation. Monsieur, if you're watching this, I honestly thought you were better than this. History shouldn't be used to promote any sort of ideology. It should exist to learn about ourselves and our past selves in order to better from the history that we have. It's about lessons learned and things we want to improve on so that we can create a brighter future. And I understand that your political ideologies are important to you, but how dare you use fake history in order to promote those things? Falsified portrayals of history does not make your ideology more powerful. It makes your ideology seem weaker. We don't need lies to be proud of our own country. You've become a part of the misinformation campaign, and because of that, you've emboldened the problem instead of fixing anything. I made this video because freedom of speech. I'm free to criticize things that I think are wrong, and I'm going to leave this video at that. There are little details in the video that I could dive deeper into, like the statistics, but I don't want this channel to be a political channel. I'm just a fellow YouTuber who is criticizing another fellow YouTuber. Monsieur, I still love your work. Please don't do revisionism again. I want to keep liking your channel, but I can't do that if you keep using fake history to promote propaganda. I wish you the best of luck, Monsieur. I know you're better than this. Take care. Axel out.